Welcome to another CEO Wisdom Pod. We have Marc Goldberg with us today. He is a CEO and co-founder at Resilience Lab in Woodstock, which is in the New York area. It's originally from France and does on and off with Paris, New York. Resilience Lab, they're hiring, by the way. It's a clinical innovator that delivers high quality technology enable outcome focused mental health care at scale. It's not his first company. And yeah, he's onto a bunch of wild things. So I'm just eager to get this started. Marc, tell us a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Sure, great to be here. I'm the co-founder of Resilience Lab. We started the company almost 6 years ago to have a systemic impact on mental health in the US. So that's what I've been mostly focusing on. And before, I have funded, started, operated, advised tech companies in Europe and in the US for many years. I'm a software engineer by training that became an operator. And I mostly engage with software-driven businesses.
Right. And you sold a company not so long ago, right? So tell us about your entrepreneurial journeys, the challenges you faced, and the victories you had along the way.
So I've been part of several companies in Europe and in the US, both as an investor and an operator. I then started an investment fund, a merchant bank that was both advising and investing in companies. The last big project that we did was Claranova, which is a very large, publicly traded, global but Paris-based software company, where I'm a significant investor and I'm also the chairman of the board. Then the company grew from 100 million revenue to 500 million revenue, and has had quite an interesting turnaround journey. That's me. I used to be the chief architect of the Reuters group, and then I've invested in dozens of companies and advised them.
Interesting. And Marc, tell me a bit more about like what you've been up as of late. What you've built with your latest company.
So I met my co-founder 10 years ago, and she was a clinician. And I started to be fascinated by how the mental health industry in the US was quite unique, very dysfunctional, hyper-fragmented, over-regulated, and with a very limited usage of technology. So it struck me that health and mental health in the US was an interesting place to try to build a company. And so we built a company with a unique angle, which was trying to solve the issue of access to mental health in the US. And what we do that nobody else is doing is we are in the business of producing the supply side. You can think about what we're doing as a two-sided marketplace. And two-sided marketplace struggle to both attract the demand and the supply. We create the supply. And the way we do it is we hire clinicians once they're out of school. So they have a master or a PhD, and they have a license to practice, but they're new clinicians. And we've created a software stack and an education stack where we make great clinicians out of them. And so we have a methodology. We train them into the methodology, and then we measure clinical outcomes, which is what impact do they have on their client. And we demonstrate that they have some of the best impact, even though some of them might be just starting to practice. So the mental health was booming before and during COVID because everybody was suffering and looking for help. The market has evolved. It has evolved from being focused on access to now being focused on quality. And the US is very particular because it's all organized around the private insurance company. the big company like Blue Cross and Blue Shields and United and Aetna and Cigna. And so you work in partnership with them so you can offer care to your client. And so it's a very particular market. And what's so difficult is that it's a business which is full of human, and human are complicated. And so we have 400 employees. I have 400 W-2 employee that I pay every 2 weeks. And how you manage at scale in a remote first world, a company of 400 employees, is something that we had to learn and get good at. But it's very different from where I'm coming from, which was Silicon Valley software business, where you have a company of 10, 50, 20 employee. So very different. And now AI is obviously, like in every industry, having an impact. And so we are using AI not to replace the clinician, but to enhance the clinical care that the clinician delivers. So we very much believe in AI increased human or AI assisted human. And so that's the angle. And we've deployed several of AI tools, both internally and then for client acquisition and clinician acquisition. So it's been quite an amazing journey. We are venture back. We've raised money through an A round in several tranches, and that has enabled us to get to where we are today.
So it's sort of a BetterHelp, right? How do you differentiate yourself from them? I believe they invest like ton in podcast ads and all these ads that I see pretty much everywhere. Like how's that been a challenge to compete with them?
So if I wanted to be arrogant, I would say that BetterHelp is worse therapy. It's terrible therapy. It's very cheap. It used to be not paid by the insurance. BetterHelp did an acquisition of a company that was announced a couple of weeks ago called Upheld, which was in network. So BetterHelp was acquired by a very large public company called Teladoc. They are not doing great. Their unit economics are not great, and they spend more and more money attracting people that don't stay because the care is not very good. And so fundamentally, I compete with them. BetterHelp, I believe, has a revenue around $800 million per year. My revenue is not public. I can tell you it's significantly below. And so I compete with them because, one, I work with insurance company, and two, I provide better care. Now, what does better care means? I think on average, people stay with BetterHelp 4 sessions. My clients stay with me close to a year, which tells you that they find the care that they like. Otherwise, they would stop. I mean, psychotherapy is a transaction business where you see your clinician usually twice a month, and then you decide if you stay or not. And there is no subscription. And if you are covered by a private insurance that we work with, like the session price might be $150, and you only going to pay $20 to $30, and the rest is going to pay by the insurance company. And so we compete with BetterHelp. We compete on quality, and we believe that the care that we are delivering is very different than the one that BetterHelp. And we pay our clinician much better. BetterHelp pay their clinician less than an Uber driver. For people that have a master or a PhD, that does not enable those people to have a life. And so the problem with two-sided marketplace is, who is creating the value, and do you pay or remunerate the supply side enough so that they stay with you? Because otherwise, it's the car driver that's with Didi and Uber and all the other and Lyft and all the other car company. And so compensation and paying people well is really the key here. And the question is, can you generate enough gross margin so you have a sustainable business?
And if it's that different from the past businesses you've managed it, why are you doing it? So the missions, is it like important for you to fix this mental health crisis, especially in the US?
So I met my co-founder Christine and wanted to do a company with her. And so she was a mental health expert. I was really fascinated by this industry because one, it's very large. So it depends how you measure it, but let's say it's between 50 billion to 100 billion per year. So super large, and that's US only, super large business. No dominant player. The large company in that space have a revenue of 2 or 3 billion, and there is one, which is life science. So very large market, no dominant player, hyper fragmented, no usage of technology, and terrible lack of supply side. So as an entrepreneur, that's kind of a dream. Be like, if I can build something which is 1% better, I can build 100 million, 500 million revenue company, which is sustainable because it's so broken. And so there is a need. The need is growing. Life is going to be more complicated next year than it is right now.
Oh yeah.
And what's so interesting is the US is a very large, very dysfunctional health industry. So and if you build something good, you can actually look at yourself in the mirror in the morning. I mean, you're actually doing something good that's making a difference in the world. So a lot of really characteristic, but for me, it's very large, unsolved problem in an industry which is increasing, which is systemically broken. And so it's a great place to invest energy because you can actually build a company.
Are you saying life is gonna get harder next year? Like beginning of that year, this year there was the tariffs. I believe that froze the economy. And yeah, if people are not getting cash, I mean things are not going well mentally. Most of the time, it's a basic need, money in life, right? And what you have to say also in the next few years where AI is gonna slash through a bunch of jobs. Is that what you mean? That life is gonna get harder in the next years?
I think for everybody, whether it's the middle class, the 1%, everybody's life is getting more complicated. In terms of the pace of change, AI is a great example. Political change, economical change, and it takes a lot of personal training in achieving the grounding that you need not to freak out. Um, and and that training you can get with a clinical therapist. Um, and I believe that we are at some inflection point, and that our life in 5 years will be different than what we understand it to be today. Um, and it's both a privilege because we are at this inflection point, and so we can see the change, and terrifying. Yeah, so Sam Altman explained that we're going to walk on the street and there will be dozens of a humanoid robot walking next to us. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's not true.
Oh
Whether
yeah,
it's
it's gonna be for sure. In the next 10 years, we're gonna see. I think that's gonna be relieving, actually. For me personally, to have robots working with me, that would be a huge life reliever.
yeah, I from a philosophical perspective, I am not in favor of universal basic income. I think work gives people dignity, and paying people not to work has been
Oh, but
tried.
they're gonna work on their passions. They're just gonna not struggle financially.
Yeah, so that's something I've been arguing with a lot of my friends. I don't know. If the state is paying you, then you become a slave of the state and maybe not a free man anymore. So
Sort of.
you know, and universal basic income has been tried in the 50s in the Soviet countries on the other side of the wall, and it has not really worked. So, but our life will be very different, and you and I are very privileged And even for people like us, I think it's going to be very different. I have 3 children. Their life is going to be totally different than mine. And so investing in mental health is a good investment for people so they can achieve the best life that they can. And for that, there is care, and you pay for that care. That care is technology enabled. It's mostly online. There is interesting disruptive things happening with AI, with the use of psychedelic and psychedelic assisted therapy, which is legal for some of the compound like ketamine, not legal for other. The whole field is changing. And so our angle is, can we be a unique education platform for the people in that field? How do I create the McKinsey of mental health, a place where the best people want to come and be trained, and then they leave and they do other things. So that has been our challenge. And what's complicated is education is slow. Scaling education business is slow. And so how do I deliver the type of return and the type of profitability and growth that the venture industry or the PE industry expect? And 2 years ago, people wanted 100% plus year-on-year growth, and you can burn as much cash as you wanted. Today, profitability, path to profitability is really the key. And if you can do 20 to 30% growth year-on-year and be profitable, you're okay. So the rules of the game are changing, and this industry is evolving.
Yeah, I love the vision. Or building like the Harvard of training psychotherapists. I'd love to double click later on like what are would be like superhuman skills that a psychotherapist would have vs an AI psychotherapist. What would be a human superpower that these folks that you're training would have?
Yeah. So you can use AI to do 3 things. You can use AI to automate horizontal processes, call center, billing, etc. That has nothing to do with our business, and that's what we are doing. Then we use AI to enhance the therapist between the session. So I use agent to talk with you and give you exercise so that you have some work to do, and you're going to do that work between the moment where you see me every 2 weeks. I don't want you to send me message real time, and I don't want to talk to you because I'm trying to teach you boundaries. But agent based interaction between session and before therapy and after therapy has ended is super interesting. We use also, and we've done some with cognitive-based therapy, and we've done some to help people with insomnia. We have a team. We work with the Carnegie Mellon University AI lab, and we have a team there that just won some prize doing that. We also use AI to do AI-assisted diagnostic. So when somebody is going to prescribe you some meds, is that the right medicine? And did I leverage all the data that I know about you to understand the potential side effect of the medicine? So we bought a company doing depression-resistant medicine last year because depression affects a lot of people. A third of the people that have depression are resisting to the meds that we give them. And the selection of the right meds is really a sort of a random trial where it's sort of I prescribe something, we see how it works, and then I'll change it, and each time it has side effects. So using AI for diagnostic and to enhance the doctor or the nurse practitioner is something that we do. The vision, the dream, is to be able to create a digital twin for the therapist that I could project and interact with you, and that the twin would talk and behave like me, the clinician. And so we're doing some super early R&D. I'm looking at that as a way to increase stickiness and reduce churn on my platform. Because if, Charles, you have a twin, as long as you work here, and the twin is you, okay, it behave as you. But when you leave, your twin stays here because I've built it. So we're doing some work on how can I create a digital twin that you as a clinician could project to your client the way you want. We're not there yet. Right now, the stuff that's really working is agent for to do some work between you and your clinician between the session. So
yeah, or just the therapist, right? Like if it would try different cognitive modalities, different types of therapies, and my twin would react better to some than others, that would be game changing, build multi-billion dollar industry.
now, in nothing of what we are doing, we are replacing the therapist. So there were some fascinating numbers that says that the biggest reason why people use GPT or other tools like that is actually self AI therapy.
Yeah, yeah, I do that.
Yeah, so it's really dangerous.
I
It's
knew you would say that, but yeah, I have good opinion, good results so far, and I use both. By the way, I use an NYC psychotherapist, Nick Samstag, Dr. Nick Samstag, and I use that one as well.
Well, so if it works for you, that's great. I would be very careful.
Why?
Because a human has a code of conduct. It's a regulated industry for a reason. So can you enhance those practitioners? Yes. They're legally responsible. I have a clinician that I work with every month. I see him. I wouldn't use a software.
I think what you're saying though is that if you have something deep, right? If you have like a real mental illness you've been fighting against for long, probably not use AI. But if you're like optimizing like you and I, maybe A/B test it at least because it's less risky, is what you're saying.
So first of all, I think you should always play with stuff, and if it's available, you should try and play with it. I pay a significant amount of money every month to a guy that I have learned to trust. I'm really good at appearing normal and I'm functional in my life. That doesn't mean that I'm sane, but I'm functional. And I would not use an AI bot. And that's after 6 years of building company in that space. Charles,
You need to sort of be careful also what you're sharing with this AI, right? Like you never know what these companies are gonna do. I mean, I would trust Sam Altman. I wouldn't trust Elon any fucking day.
I absolutely would not trust Sam Altman.
Okay, that's also another interesting point.
Charles, I have a board call that starts in 2
Yeah,
minutes.
that's what I was about to say. Let's do round two. Let's do like a deeper round about Sam Altman trusting AIs, where society's going as well, and UBI. I'm gonna send you another invite. Till then, where can we find out more about you and your company, Marc?
So resiliencelab.us, you'll find everything about us. And then I'm Marc, M-A-R-C, at resiliencelab.us. I'm online. You can always reach me here.
That was Marc and Charles for another Founder Wisdom.